Well, and you talked about an index that you've come up with that gives a sort of a different picture and offers a different tool for people maybe looking to invest in Africa or to get a clearer picture of what's going on. Can you give us a little bit of a summary of that?
Yeah, what we are confronted with when researching, analyzing African markets and markets around the world, and then taking that to more practical purposes, is that Africa is a big place. So where do you start? And so we look at the macro, the features, look at the size of economies, perhaps the size of populations, per capita income, so the wealth of the country, and then look at the growth rates with that. And then from there, we take this to the index, which is called the Dynamic Market Index. It's a biannual index that we do with the Center for Dynamic Markets at the Gordon Institute of Business Science, is where I work, our business school. And that index really looks at how how institutions have evolved, how institutions have changed over a period of 7 years, how they've either improved or maybe how they've fallen backward or stagnated, and how those really define the environment in many of these African markets. What is very important about the index is that we account for hard data results, as opposed to other indices that measure competitiveness that look very much at survey-based features. And it's very comprehensive. It's one of the only indices that I know of that really looks at hard data results I think it accounts for 39 African countries out of the 54. So it really does give a focused African picture. And what is useful is a comparative picture where you can look at African economies compared to other economies in other parts of the world.
Excellent. Can you offer some advice? What would be your top recommendations for those looking to invest in Africa, whether that's pinpointing some opportunities that look particularly appealing, or what sectors? What would you advise people to do?
Well, I think first and foremost is the word of advice that you offered at the outset is that Africa is not just one economy, and let's start looking at Africa in a much more granular fashion, in a much more economy by economy focus that will help us develop the right information and data to inform our decisions in those markets, because each market will them. That it's not just about growth and demographics, although these are very, very exciting in the African context. We need to look beyond that as to how Africa or certain African economies are changing structurally, are improving their structures that will bode well for sustained levels of growth and development, that will bode well for investors that are looking for more secure returns over a longer period of time. And that comes back to the institutions then. Are these institutions, or are institutions in certain African economies, and if you look at our DMR, Dynamic Market Index, the best performers, the most competitive ones, are those that are improving their institutions, that are attracting higher levels of foreign investment relative to their GDP sizes. They might be small at this stage, but they are attracting those.
So where should we look? What countries?
Well, I think the other thing is that some of the bigger economies are not performing as well as the smaller ones. So we should start looking at some of the mega projects. Those are very, very exciting, but they do come with a lot of baggage. I would say that some of the projects that are quite exciting at the moment might be in services in places from Mauritius to South Africa, or servicing some of the big mega projects. But still, the Africa story is changing. But what is still very, very exciting here is infrastructure development, power, and renewable energy is going to be a very, very exciting new frontier for African economies. And I just want to add one final one, is food security and agriculture. Agribusiness is about to take off. This is the next frontier. So that is very, very exciting as well.
Excellent. Sounds like we have a lot to look forward to. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.